Right off the bat, I want to make this crystal clear. I want this film to be great. I am a fan of Superman, the comic book character. Yes, I love Christopher Reeve as Superman. Yes, I love Man of Steel, and I like Batman vs Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yes, I love Henry Cavill as Superman. And so at the end of the day, I want Superman 2025, James Gunn's Superman, to be great. I just want to make that clear because yes, in my videos for Superman 2025, be it the costume reveal or the trailer reaction, I have taken issues with the visual style for this film. Be it the costume itself or the color grade or the cinematography, including the choice of lenses, because you know, I'm a human being. I have personal preferences. James Gunn is a good filmmaker. I like most of the films of his I've seen. I think he's a very good storyteller. However, recently I've just found that overall his visuals are inconsistent. And visuals should be important in a film because, you know, film is a visual medium. And I think something specifically in regards to James Gunn's personal preference, it's something he's developed recently. It's his love for wide-angle lenses. Why he loves them so much, I have no idea, but they are all over the trailers for Superman, and I'm not a fan of it. But before we get into the rest of the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on social media. It's all linked down in the description. I'm also an actor and filmmaker myself, so check out my latest short film, The Shining Optimism of E.F. Manar. Again, I think overall when it comes to Superman, the storytelling will be good. James Gunn's overall story for the film will be solid. Whether or not I like the film from a visual standpoint, that's something I'm not entirely sure about. Because also bear in mind, this film was also shot by the cinematographer of The Flash, and I know we're trying to forget that The Flash exists, but yeah, this is the same cinematographer. I mean, that's kind of mean because this is also the same guy that shot the Suicide Squad, but also I think it's interesting because you can see the DNA of the Suicide Squad cinematography in Superman, but there's just something off about it. Like, it's a bit too oversaturated and there's too much blue in the shadows. And that color grading choice just makes it feel like The Boys or like a bit of television instead of a cinematic film. Also, the harsh daylighting is just, what are we doing here? Can they not afford diffusion? And I talked about it a little bit before, but the Superman costume to me is ugly. That may or may not break the film for some people, but you know, I like to be looking at the superhero I'm meant to be watching. The costume from a design standpoint is in conflict with itself. Sometimes it looks good, other times it looks pretty bad. The colors are fantastic, the bright blue and the strong red. I love it. I think it's great. If you look at it from a distance, the overall silhouette is pretty good. Also, something I just find kind of baffling and maybe a bit funny is how this picture here is incredible. And this should have been the first look at the suit. I don't know why our first look was him like sitting down and like putting on the boots. No, this shot right here, this should have been our first look. But then from a design standpoint, it is basically the new 52 costume. I mean, I don't know why this like spandex-esque looking costume has the new 52 collar. It just, that doesn't work at all. But then at the same time too, this like spandex looking costume is like heavily padded and it just looks weird. Especially the bulky padding around the wrists, like, what are we doing here? Also about the trunks, I like the trunks. I think the trunks are a good addition. Trunks for me neither make or break a Superman suit. It just depends on whether or not it fits the overall design for the film, or comic, or story, you know what I mean. But also, it's not just Superman's costume that looks bizarre, because some of the costumes of the JSA are inconsistent as well. I think Mr. Terrific looks, well, terrific. But then Hawkgirl's costume looks a bit especially a helmet. And then don't get me started on Guy Gardner because what is that? Let's also talk about the 5-minute preview that came out in front of a Minecraft movie. Stop. Because for the most part, I liked the preview, but there are certain things in it that made me go, okay, I don't know if I entirely like this choice. I also do think some of the visuals for this film will be quite good, because the bit where Krypto is dragging Superman to the Fortress of Solitude and it just emerges from the ground, like forming this like crystallized shape. Really cool. I really love that. And speaking of Krypto, it's going to be fun to see Krypto in live action. I've had people complain, oh, they're doing Krypto the Superdog. Why are they doing that? That's lame. No, it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. I think it's nice to see the super pets in live action. Because again, too, Krypto is part of the Superman mythology from the comic books. And having him in the film, that's pretty fun. I like that. One thing fans complain about, though, and I do not get it at all, some fans took issue with the robot joke, but the joke was pretty self-explanatory and it made sense. Like, one of the robots in the Fortress of Solitude is helping Superman, and Superman's all just like, oh, thank you. And then one of them's just like, oh, don't thank us. We are autonomous beings and we don't have a soul and we don't appreciate any such gratitude. However, this one is a upgraded model and therefore has a couple of more human emotions. Superman then looks at the robot and it quote-unquote blushes and giggles.
He looked at me.
Like, the joke is pretty self-explanatory. The second robot has more of a human conscience and therefore shows more human characteristics. Like, that joke makes sense. It's not a bad joke. Why are people complaining about that? My complaint was how it kind of represented Superman as a character. When he lands in the snow, calls Krypto, and then Krypto starts jumping on him, instead of kind of being a bit, you know, tough and a bit masculine, he's kind of just like squealing and like screaming like a little child. Krypto, stop! Stop. Like, it kind of just makes him look a bit weak and pathetic. And I'm not saying that Superman needs to be toxically masculine or anything, but just have him be a bit more tougher. Like, instead of just going, he should have been like, Krypton, stop! But no, instead he's like squealing about like he's Deadpool. Stop. And that concern I had about David Corenswet's performance is something that the second trailer expanded upon. At the beginning of the trailer, when Clark and Lois are talking to each other and Clark agrees to be interviewed by Lois as Superman, the way he agrees to it is just a bit childish, a bit whiny, a bit unmasculine. Yeah.
You'd let me interview you as Superman.
Sure. Like, I know he's supposed to be showing a delineation between Clark Kent and Superman, and he does that quite well with his physicality. This weird kind of like soft boy, sure, squeaky's adding to his voice is just a bit, I don't know, it doesn't really sit right with me. However, the shift from Clark to Superman is great, where he leans forward and he's just like, Miss Lane.
Superman.
Miss Lane.
But then again too, there's something about this Superman where he just feels a bit whiny. Like, this is supposed to be Clark in like, what, his early 30s, but he's carrying himself like he's Superman from Smallville, like he's a teenager or like a very young adult.
Did you consult with the president?
No.
I would question myself in the same situation and consider the consequences.
People were going to die!
People were going to die! This is a 30-year-old man. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think David Corenswet is gonna do a bad job. For the most part, I like him in the role. For me, this is more of a critique at James Gunn's direction for Clark and Superman. Though one thing I will say is that it is nice to see Superman with a bit more of a personality.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Don't get me wrong, I love Henry Cavill, but one of my criticisms with Cavill in the Snyder films is that they don't give him a lot of personality. There are times where he's just a bit too stoic. And this isn't just a complaint from me, this is also a complaint from Cavill himself. If you look at the Justice League 2017 press tour, the whole time he's talking about a potential Man of Steel 2, and the whole time he's just like, yeah, I'd love to play bright, optimistic, bubbly Superman. Now, there are things in this film that I am looking forward to. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor looks fantastic. I also think it's pretty ironic how the man that lost out to playing both Batman and Superman is playing Lex Luthor. I think there's a bit of poetic justice here. I also think Rachel Brosnahan is going to be fantastic as Lois Lane. Just the snippet from the second trailer where she's interviewing Clark and she's not holding back. She's going full-on journalist, maintaining all of her integrity, scrutinizing Superman in front of his face. Love it. I'm also curious to see how James Gunn is going to set up his DCU, his DC universe on screen. Not just through shallow things like Easter eggs, but I'm curious to see how the plot of this film will unfold the story for his universe. Also, I'm looking forward to hearing the John Williams theme in this film. Because when I went to go see Thunderbolts, they played the Superman trailer, and it was pretty nice to hear the John Williams theme on the big screen with the surround sound. Dun, 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 dun. Like, yeah, it was pretty cool. Because yes, at the end of the day, the John Williams Superman theme is the Superman theme. And look, I really want to love this film, and for the most part, I think it will be a good film overall. Like I said, James Gunn is a good storyteller. Whether or not I agree with a lot of his choices as a director, that's something else. And I think at the very least, this film will be good. It will be a competent story. I will leave the cinema having enjoyed it. Whether or not I think it's memorable and it sticks with me, that's a different story. I'm just gonna have to wait and see the film. But those are my thoughts so far on James Gunn's Superman. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on social media. It's all linked down in the description. And until we meet again, I'll see you guys next time.